In this video, I want to talk about safety and trust. These are two key concepts for complex trauma survivors. Because trust has been broken so many times in the context of a relationship, cultivating safety and establishing trust are essential for any good human relationship, but certainly any good and productive clinical interaction. But as survivors know all too well, it's not enough to simply tell them, I'm safe or you're going to be safe here. Words alone don't do the job. Safety has to be felt in the body. When you've lived in a complex trauma environment, you've had to become extremely dialed in to the most subtle of cues in order to predict when danger might happen and then try and avoid it such that you don't get abused or traumatized even more. It could be something as subtle as a look, a tone of voice, a certain gesture, kind of expression, even the way somebody breathes can signal danger. So sometimes survivors will talk about almost having like a sixth sense or being psychic because they're so dialed into these cues that are so subtle that they may be missed by those of us who haven't experienced complex trauma. So this means in order to cultivate safety and trust, it has to be grounded in the body. We talk about safety as a right brain experience. When we're a child, we often get cues for safety, not through language, at least not the content of language when we're really small, but it's more through things like facial expression, tone of voice, cadence, rhythm, gesture. Think about when you and cuddle a small baby, and maybe you're a parent watching this so you can remember what it was like when you had your baby. The baby has no real sense of the words you're saying, at least the content, but it can pick up on those non-verbal aspects, and that's what can cue it for safety. So this felt sense of safety in the body is what Stephen Porges refers to as neuroception. It's like another sense that we have. And so in working with survivors, we have to use the cues from our own body, those nonverbal aspects of communication that can reach the survivor's neuroception and let them know, yes, I am safe. Neuroception is something that we all have, this felt sense of safety. But if you've never experienced complex trauma, you might navigate through the world and just assume safety is a default. It's not something that you really have to concern yourself with much of the time. If that's the case for you, I would invite you to get curious. Where are the times, places, and spaces that you feel safe? Think about people that you're closest to in this world. How is it that you know when you're with them that you feel safe? And not based on the content of what they say, but their presence, sometimes what we call attunement. How do you know being in their presence that they're safe? Conversely, maybe there are moments when you haven't felt safe with someone, you got a bad vibe or a bad gut intuition. How did your body cue you, maybe even before you knew consciously that that person might not be safe? Neuroception looks different for everyone, and so it's helpful to think about for yourself what kind of cues you use and experience just to give you a sense of what it might be like in the mind and the experience of a survivor who's trying to navigate through the world and just try to stay safe. So in a clinical context, as a provider, it's helpful to think about how you're showing up in a room. Are you hurried? Are you stressed out? Are you overwhelmed? Are you rushing, maybe interrupting your patient, maybe not making eye contact? Most of us who are working in healthcare are working in systems that are overtaxed and under-resourced. And so it would be understandable if that was your way of being sometimes. But if we're working with complex trauma survivors, it's important just to take that moment just to check in with ourselves and notice, how am I showing up in this room? Because it doesn't take long to signal those cues of safety or a lack of safety. So even those first few moments in your clinical interaction with someone can make all the difference. And this is something my own clients have said to me very frequently. Like when they met me for the first time, it was my tone of voice, it was my pace, it was the fact that I gave them space to express themselves and not rush them. And that is more likely to bring somebody back to see you again rather than decide after the first visit that I'm not going to be safe here and I'm not going to get my needs met. So, I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou, which I think sums up this idea of felt safety in the body in a very nice way. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.